Hi everyone, I'm Nancy McNally of NancyMcNallyQuilts.com. Thank you for joining me today. Today's quilt block from the Single Quilt Block Series, tutorial series, is the Spinning Friendship Star. Now here's what we're going to work on today. First of all, we've already made a 4-patch several blocks ago. We've been working on half square triangles. It seems like every single block has a half square triangle in it, so you should have mastered that by now. But if not, I will do a quick tutorial on how to piece those according to the pattern. And those of you that have been following me, you already know how I actually piece half square triangles. So what you're going to need today is, and I want you to prepare your fabric because we're going to be working with bias triangles. Before you cut your fabric to the cutting instructions, please prepare with your favorite spray starch. Now this is from Magic. This is what I use, and it's quilting and crafting spray. This is a fine mist sprayer, which I really love using. You're also going to need a fabric pen to draw a line with. All right, so also make sure you have some kind of ruler that you can use to square up your shapes and draw a diagonal line with, because we're going to need that today. It's time to get set up and let's get started on the Spinning Friendship Star quilt block. All right, so here is our pattern. Here's the block we're going to be making, and we are going to begin, as usual, with the easiest part and move on to the more advanced part of the block. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with our 4-patch that is located directly in the middle of the quilt. And then we'll move on to half square triangles. So don't forget to download your pattern and print it off. You can always sew along with me, or you can watch, take notes, and then make the block. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to start off with these blocks, or excuse me, these units right here, which are our A squares. Now making a 4-patch is beyond easy. So if you've never done that before, you're going to go right sides together, line your raw edge to raw edges, and then you're going to sew 1/4 inch seam right there. Now I chain piece these when I'm making more than one. Here's the other color. Whoops, my background and my coral, which is more on the orange side. All right, we're going to go right sides together and sew those. Now, I'm going to go ahead and move forward, and I'm going to show you 2 things about half square triangles before I sew my 4-patch blocks. So I'm going to need a ruler. We are going to move on to our B and E squares. Not our E squares, I'm sorry, our B squares. Apologize. So in the pattern, we're going to do both of these, B's and E's, because you're drawing a diagonal line on the B and the E's. Here are the B's right here. These are your larger background squares, and these are your E squares that match to these right over here. That's why I have them on this side of the table. We will work with those in a minute. So from now, you're going to take your B, your light or your white, whatever background color you're using, and you're going to draw a diagonal line on each one. These are the half square triangles. This is the way I wrote my pattern. So you're going to take your half square triangle, B's, you're going to draw that diagonal line. You're going to go right sides together. If you need to place a pin on either side of that drawn line, please feel free to do so. Now, on my sewing machine, I have a 1/4 inch foot with a fabric guide for half square triangles. That fabric guide is going to go directly on that drawn line. So I'm going to place it there just to show you. Okay. And the needle drops down right here in this needle hole. And so now it is a 1/4 inch away from that drawn line. And so I'm going to sew on this line, go this way. And I did say line and I didn't mean to. I apologize. Okay, and so then I will sew on this side. So I will have a stitched line on this side and on this side. And it'll be approximately a 1/4 inch away from the drawn line. And then from there, we cut apart on that drawn line. So I'm going to get this one sewn to show you how we do this. And then I'm going to show you my method. Okay, let's see if I can get a little closer there. See, I've sewn a 1/4 inch away from the drawn line. Now I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to line the foot of my 1/4 inch foot, the fabric guide, along that line, and I'm going to sew 1/4 inch away from there. Sorry, I fumbled on my words. So for your next step, you will take your ruler, align it up on that drawn line. This is the easy part. And you're going to cut them apart because now we have 2 half square triangles. You will press towards the darker side, just like the arrows show. If you prefer to press open, that is fine. You can press open. And then we're going to trim these to size. Now these are going to be the same size as our smaller squares. Now here's the way that I do my half square triangles. And then I'm going to finish getting everything ready and we'll move on to the next section. Okay, so I go ahead and put mine right sides together, just like you see there. Take my ruler, and I'm going to line it up on the diagonal from corner to corner, just like this. Hold steady, open the rotary cutter, and cut. That takes away, that eliminates the step of having to draw the line. Now, I do give you wiggle room, and you can trim everything down to the size that is needed. Let's talk about our half square triangles. I've already trimmed all of these to size, but again, if you're new to this, let me show you how to trim these to size. So we're going to take a ruler, and you want a ruler that has a 45-degree line, so it's a diagonal from corner to corner. And the ruler needs to be larger than what you're trimming it down to, because you need to be able to grip the ruler. And you're not holding the ruler, but you are going to apply pressure. So I'm going to line the 45-degree line up on that diagonal seam. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, I have the diagonal seam running along here, and I have the corner of the measurement that I need almost landing in the middle, or excuse me, not in the middle, but in the bottom corner. Now, if I pull it down a little bit further, I still have some that I'm going to have to trim right here. And I know that's just a couple threads, and some people say it's not worth it. But these couple threads, if you leave it on numerous half square triangles, it adds up. And now all of a sudden it might be a couple threads off when you're lining it up, and then it'll grow to being like 1/2 inch because you left too many of them like that. So let's trim it correctly the first time. So I'm going to position this up a little further so that I have fabric going past my measurement that I need. It's past it, and there's fabric extending past the ruler. All right, so you're going to hold steady. Don't hold your ruler like this. Place your hand down, place your pinky on the outside of the ruler, and place your thumb on the outside of the ruler, and push down, and try to keep your wrist flat. All right, so I need to get it so where I can do this. Okay, so we're going to go this side, and make sure no fingers are extending past the top. I advise that because your rotary cutter doesn't care. It will cut right through you. Did I miss that one, or did I get it? I'm trying to do this sitting down, so it's not easy. Okay, so there's those two. Now, I haven't trimmed this yet, so I'm going to take this corner, I'm going to rotate it so that it's up here. Just like that. Easy, right? Now, place the ruler back down on your half square triangle. This diagonal line needs to be running right along that seam. And I've got my measurement that I need to trim to, because I've already trimmed these two sides. I can place the measurement that I'm supposed to trim to directly on the outer edges of the half square triangle, and fabric is extending past. So I'm going to cut and close my rotary cutter. There we go. And then all this goes in the trash. And that is how you trim your half square triangles. All right, so the next set, if I could just get all this stuff off here. So for the next thing we're going to do, we're going to be working on these units over here. We're going to play with this fabric, but I need to make these. So let me show you how these go together. They're extremely easy. You're going to need a green and a coral for each one. So you want the tips of the half square triangles, the colors, to like kiss each other. And you're going to place a square here and a square here. So this one's going to go right sides together. And a tip when you're working with lots is to place a pin in the side that you have to sew. Now we're going to go right sides together with this one. Line them up, raw edge to raw edge. Make sure everything is aligned. Grab another pin. And now I'm sewing on these. All right, you're going to make 4 of each of these. All right, I'm going to get these done, and then we're going to work on this, because this is what we need to learn how to do today. All right, I'll be back in a moment. All right, as you can see, I have my 4 patch joined. I have 3 out of the 4 corner units sewn together. So here's my last one. We're going to review it one more time. You're going to go right sides together, and you're going to butt those 2 seams up to where the corners of the half square triangles are touching. Take a pin and put it in that seam allowance, which is right here, and also just kind of pull it back with the pin and make sure that your seam allowances are butted up against each other, and mine are. Before I sew, I'm also going to double check to make sure that these seams are lined up at the top and one's not sagging down like just that one is right there. Okay, now I have this ready and I can get this sewn. All right, so there we go. All I need to do is press. There we go. All right, don't forget to make sure that these measure. These and these are the same size. All right, let's move these out of the way. Now we're going to pull this over here. Now we're going to work with our bias triangles. I'm going to move these over here. Let's talk about fabric placement here. So these are the 2 star points of the block. Here we go. These are our C's. The lights are our C's. And these are the same size. Those are also C's. And then you have your larger triangles. These are D's. These are all bias. We're going to start with these. I'm going to move these over here. And notice I'm keeping them, move this over so you can see better, in the same order as I had them right here. This is important. These are directional and you need to sew them correctly. All right, so I'm going to take the light one and the red one, and we're going to align those corners, those bottom corners up right here. Can you see that? I hope you can. Bring it over here. Maybe it's a little bit better. I don't know if this board is distracting. So we're going to go right sides together. I try not to finger them too much, but you should have sprayed these. Okay, now we're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam right down here. Let's get this one sewn. Now I'm going to open this back up and place it back down to make sure I have it correct. And I do. I didn't sew the wrong side. So now you need to press this seam open. You don't have to, but I recommend, let's just use this. My fingers are not working today. We're going to open that seam. All right. Now let me put some heat to that. And our next step is we're going to join our 2, oh gosh, my nose, I'm sorry, our 2 C triangles to our larger D triangle. You're going to go right sides together, and the D is larger. I purposely made it larger so you have wiggle room. That was hard to say. Get as close to the center as you can, but look, no matter what you do, there's going to be room to trim, okay? I purposely did that so that it makes your life easier. All right, you can do something like you can take this and fold this in half if you would like. And crease that with your fingers. So now we have a center point right there. I know it's hard to see. And then I can line this up with that. And what I would do, honestly, I like to pin these because I feel like triangles just have a mind of their own. And look, Now it's ready to trim to size, except we have to press it. So let me press this one. Now we need to trim it to size before we move on to the next step. So we're going to do the same thing. I do not want you to trim from these two smaller triangles, only trim from this triangle right here. Let's move these out of the way. I don't want to mess the order up. Okay. All right, so what I've done, whoops, is I have the size that it's supposed to be trimmed to lined up on the outer edge of these two smaller triangles, and I have enough that it's extending past here and here, and I also have the center right there. And so now it's nice, and it'll just lay nice and flat. And by the way, you do have to press that seam open. The block will lay flatter. It's really hard to trim that way. Okay, so now we're going to trim these off, these little triangles. We do not need them. Okay, so there's that portion. Now the next one is we need to take a yellow square, and we're going to draw a diagonal line on the wrong side. We'll show you the next step. All right, let me get my machine set up for the next part, and we'll continue on. Now it is time to finish our last unit, and that is the stitch and flip. So here I've already done the other ones. So the blue is going to look like this. Here, let's put this way. There we go. So it's going to look just like this. Move this one. There. Blue, blue, and then you place the yellow square with the drawn diagonal line from corner to corner. We're going to stitch directly on that line. You're going to trim a 1/4 inch away, flip this in place, and press. So let me get this one sewn. All right, it looks like this. So right on that pink line is where I sewed. Beside it, now I'm going to take a ruler, and I'm going to line the 1/4 inch line from my ruler on the stitch line. I'm going to trim a 1/4 inch away. You can keep these or you can toss them. It's your choice. Next is we're going to flip this in place and press. And there we go. All right, let's lay out our blocks, and then we're going to join it all together. All right, so I have my red ones. Okay, so here's your center. You can put these in any direction you want. If you want the green up in this corner, it doesn't matter. It's the same. I'm going to place it like this. I'm going to place a red one over here, a blue one here. The other red one is going to go across. It's actually cinnamon, not red. These are cinnamon. All right. You see how it's coming together? And now you have your choice. We're going to place the corners. You can place the corners like this, or you can have that color first. It doesn't matter. It's the same as in the direction it's going. And that's how you make the block. Now we're going to join all these together. I'm going to join this center star point with right sides together to the corner, then the very center 4 patch to this star point, and I just noticed mine are over, and I can see this right here. So guess who's going to fix that? Yes, I am going to fix that. I just noticed it. So, whoops. Okay, so I'm going to set the seam with the iron on this. I'm going to show you how I do this. Okay, so I have it now. It's nice and flat. I'm going to take my seam ripper, and I'm hoping this is one of my sharp seam rippers. I'm going to pop a few seams. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and start pulling it apart just to see how far I got. Yes. All right, I need to move this so I have a little bit of room. Okay, so I'm going to take my seam ripper, and the ball is going to go inside, and the curve right there, that's the razor, and that's going to go right up against the thread that I need to cut. And the long part of this seam ripper is going to be on the outside of the seam allowance. And that's how I rip seams. You give it, it's a slight angle and a little bit of a tilt. You just have to practice it and don't be afraid. After all, it is just fabric. It's not nerve endings. So now I've realigned it and I'm going to sew these much better. Okay, yes, it's hot. It's hot, it's hot, it's hot. Let's pull this here. Now we are ready to join. I've already joined the center and the bottom. So now we're going to join the top to the center. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to, excuse me, you're going to go right sides together and you're going to line up this seam and this seam. This seam right here with the yellow stitch and flip triangle, it will not, this tip right here will not line up to that. It is going to be offset and it is supposed to be. All right. Same thing with over here. This stitch and flip triangle will also not line up with this piece. And there's nothing to line up here. So we're going to do these two right here first. All right, so let's go right sides together. Line them up. And the seams are pressed open. So let's grab some pins. You do the seams first. You line those up first. There we go. Almost put that through my finger. Line up this one. See if I can pull that apart again. That seam, I know it's hard to see, I'm sorry. That seam to that seam. And I pulled it crooked, it's still lined up. There we go. Grab another pin. All right. Now we're going to go out to our corners and we're going to line our corners up over here. Because the two seams that I lined up were the only two that we could line up. Now we're going to go to this corner over here and line up this corner. I would suggest you place a pin here, here, and here. Just line the top edges together. That's all I want you to worry about. You're not lining up a seam, just line up the top edges there. Those raw edges. Okay, and then we're going to do this one right here. So yes, I think I used, what, 6 pins? Maybe not that many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, well, okay, 7. There we go. All right, now let's sew these. Do not sew over your pins. Deep breath. Let's look. Oh yes, very nice. Very, very nice. Let me set the seam. I'm going to put the iron here and here, set it, and then I'll press. There we go. All right. Still needs to press it a little bit better, but I tried to do it quickly for you guys. All right, so here is the Spinning Friendship Star. Don't forget to download your pattern. Watch the video, take notes as you go, especially if you're a beginner. Make sure you trim everything to the correct size. Don't sew over your pins, and also use your favorite spray starch to prepare the fabric before you cut it, because we are working with bias triangles. All right, everybody, have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me today. And if you like this video tutorial on the Spinning Friendship Star, part of the Single Quilt Block video tutorial series, please click the red bell below and subscribe. Also, if you want to be up to date on what I'm doing next and where I'm going to be, maybe the latest news possible, if you subscribe to my blog. Yes, subscribe to my newsletter. I don't send newsletters out very often. I just do a blog. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe there. It's NancyMcNallyQuilts.com. All the information will be given down below in the description box. Again, have a wonderful day and happy quilting.